What's up, hobby friends, and welcome back to Paint Brave, the podcast where you can find a little bit of encouragement, discover new ways to make your hobby more fun, and most importantly, learn to paint bravely. All right, we got some good hobby stuff. A lot of different things we've been getting into the last couple weeks. There was an eclipse. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're gonna talk about what you been up to, Brent, because you got to see the eclipse. The whole thing.
I did. I understand why the goblins are really into the moon now. So I don't know. There's not much to this story, but I did travel out a couple hours into nowhere, Maine, to see the total eclipse, and that's actually a lot different than a partial eclipse. Like once the moon is fully in front of that sun, the light pretty much goes out, the birds start going nuts, and like it gets dark everywhere. And if you've got your special glass, actually you don't need your special glasses, but
not at that point. Yeah.
No, not for that one moment. You're like, be careful, but like you can look at the sun without your special glasses, and you can actually see the corona of the like plasmas shooting out from the sun in all directions. And you know, this year there was like a pretty good like red solar flare down on the bottom left of the sun, and it was cool. So we don't need to stay on this. I just wanted to cement Paint Bravely episode 108 in the actual world, in the times in which we live. And yeah, the day that 107 launched, there was an eclipse, and I got to see the total eclipse, and it was cool. And all I want to say is, like, if you have a chance in your lifetime to see a total eclipse, I'd recommend it. Yeah, the total eclipse is worth it. The partial is like, okay, like the sun's partially covered, but like when it goes from 99% covered to 100%, there actually is a huge difference, and it was an annoying amount of traffic for being in the middle of nowhere, Maine, but like it was worth it. It was good.
It was good. At the sky for a minute and a half. Yeah.
Right. And as soon as that minute and a half are done, like
all right,
I don't know, 50,000 people in roads not made for 50,000 people were all going home at the same time. So
yeah, that makes sense. Man, I got like a 1/3 eclipse. It was all right. You know, we had the glasses. It was cool. But you know, we've seen several of those in at least the last decade. And this was like the least eclipsey of the eclipses that we've had over here. So it wasn't as exciting for me.
I understand. Yeah, I've seen a couple of partials, and they're okay. It's like, okay, I get it. Yeah,
that's neat. Yeah.
But man, seeing the total eclipse, like I felt like a goblin for a minute and a half there.
Like, ooh.
Behold the moon's power.
Yes, it can block out the sun.
That's right. So
disappointing to be a goblin. Like, look what happened. Like this thing. Oh, it's over. All right, let's go home.
I get it though. Like the cave people. People. If one day they just like looked up and that happened, oh my goodness,
that would be a little confusing. Yeah. For sure.
Something to talk about at the campfire that night, I imagine. Yeah. So. What else? Oh, also, just to give a little more context for this episode, because I don't know when you're going to really listen to it.
Time and date on it.
Yeah, you know, we want these to be evergreen, but like, I think it gives a little flavor just to know when they're occurring, so you can really, you know, get your mind in the right spot. So we are recording, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 days after Games Workshop announced that some of the custodians behind their golden armor, the girls, always been women, warrior ladies, and you know, I think if you were to do some sort of internet historian, you could pinpoint this moment in time, because a lot of strange nerds have a lot to say about this, and
like more than normal,
more than you might think.
Yeah.
So
we're not gonna focus on that though, because we're not assholes. Anyways.
Yeah. Moving on. It's just wow.
Yeah.
There was like one of the factions of Warhammer 40k was a sausage fest, and now it's not a sausage fest anymore, and some people very angry. Now, I get it a little bit, like the way they did the reveal is just like, oh yeah, there's girls in there, always have been.
It felt very nonchalant.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I feel like that was on purpose too. They're just like, we're just gonna say.
I can see pretending to be upset about like that. Like you can construct to like, yeah, they didn't even care. They're just ruining all my dudes on purpose, and they just like put it out there in a tweet from the intern who runs the social media account. But on the other hand, if Warhammer 40K is actually a satirical setting, the satire of just being like, yeah, there've always been women there is actually pretty funny. Like if it is actually a satirical setting, that method of information delivery works and is funny. Yeah. And let's go with it. But anyway, that's where we are in history. And a week from now, the nerds will be upset about something else. Maybe Helldivers 2's been going on.
That's a good timestamp right there. Yeah. I haven't played it yet, but
me neither.
Man,
but that's where we are. Memes. That's where we are in the world. Yeah,
exactly. Speaking of women in wargaming, though, I just put out a video. Just because we're gonna do that. I just put out a video talking about Morathi from Age of Sigmar, and one of the sculpts that I got at Adepticon, and it looks like Morathi, like Chris Fitzpatrick sculpted a long time ago, and it's very similar. It's not. It's supposed to be like an acolyte of Hecate or something, like the Greek goddess. And old timey Greek statues don't have a lot of clothes on generally. Yeah, and this one does not. And I blurred it out in the video. I didn't show it as much as possible. That was kind of the idea, but I totally forgot. So a few thousand people got to see the model completely. And then I went in the back end on YouTube and got that blurred out. I was a little worried for a second because like everyone was like time stamping it in the comments, like, "Oh, I see what you did there." Like, no, it was an accident. I promise. We got that covered up. No strikes on the YouTube channel, thankfully.
Did you paint them good?
I mean, I certainly tried. It was very lifelike.
Ooh.
Yeah, I got out the special skin tone paints and everything, so it looked good.
Yeah. So it was a priestess of what was it?
Hecate.
I've been working on my priest of Sobek. That's the Sobeki. That's the crocodiles.
Yeah.
So this is not a joke. While I was waiting for the eclipse, I was reading my War Gods of Egyptus rulebook.
Yeah.
By Chris Fitzpatrick at Crocodile Games.
Yeah.
And for the first time, I understood the setting. It's like a very loose pseudo history of like, here's the Nile River Valley, and here's where Ra is, and here's where Apophis is, and whatever. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of interesting. It's like, here's some actual Egyptians and some actual geography and some actual lore and gods and mythology. And then here's the crocodile people and the Death Eaters and the necromancers and like, all right. So that's the type of flavor in those games.
Yeah. Honestly, the best kind of historical wargaming where it's mostly fake but based on like real locations, like a good historical fiction, right? Like a book. It's like, oh yeah, that could have happened. Not really.
Yeah. It's set just after Atlantis was destroyed, but I think it's antediluvian. I can't remember exactly, but
I don't know my diluvians,
I need to read that again. I said I read the rules. I skimmed the rules. I actually read some of the lore.
You looked at the pictures.
Yeah, I looked at the pictures.
There were names and places.
Yup. You
get the idea, yeah.
There was an extensive rule set on if one of your chariot riders dies, who can take the place of the chariot rider, how the enemy can steal the chariot. I was just like, wow, This is cool, but I will never adjudicate this.
It sounds cool though.
Yeah.
Like if you were deep in a game, right? And like it just happened to go down that way, man, having a page like that, you'd be like, this is what I'm in for. Like, we're going to figure this out.
If your chariot riders got murdered with arrows and then your opponent came up and like grabbed that chariot and rode off, that would be a pretty good day right there.
Pretty good. That's pretty a cool gameplay moment for sure.
Pretty good. But we're moving away from the fact that you were breaking YouTube's terms of service by putting very tiny painted breasts in your video.
Yeah.
But you got to fix though, huh?
I did. Because I mean, obviously it's a weird thing, right? Like, because there were a few comments on the video too, like early on about like, this shouldn't be a problem, but it is. And I get it, right? Because in one turn, you're like, well, I can go see a statue. I can go to an art gallery, even as a child. And you're like, yes, that's that painting. That's what that is. But, miniatures, it's skirting that weird line of like not art, but art. And I don't know. So it's definitely a weird place to be. So, I mean, I obviously went for the safer option and blurred everything. Except for that one. I'm not sure how it happened either, because I swear it was like the longest clip of that model and the most close up in the whole video. And like just had nothing on it. So, yeah.
Well, happy little accidents. What?
Yeah, but that no one thinks is an accident. Like
they caught you, Casey. All right. Is this your apology video right here?
Yeah, maybe that's what this should be. This is just my apology tour start of... Yeah. I'm sorry.
He's sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So yeah, that I did that. I painted those. Those were good. I've been working on this Contemptor Dreadnought that I found on eBay. It's like I thought at the time it might have been like a Forge World piece. I did look those up, and I thought it was, and they're like $200+ models or something. It turns out it's either a recast or just the old, very garbage version of a Contemptor Dreadnought that Games Workshop was selling normally.
But it's resin?
It's resin. Yeah, it's a resin model. Okay. Yeah. And it was severely jacked up. Like, it still doesn't look very good. And I worked on it for a long time. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It looks better than when I bought it. But I also paid basically MSRP for it. And they put out new plastic kits right after I bought it for the same price that I paid. So it's kind of a feel bad model a little bit. This whole week's been like that, like just trying to work on this model and not be angry about it and just moving on.
I understand. And I was angrily assembling some Custodes models today,
Yeah, absolutely.
You know how it goes.
Yeah. Just angrily hobbying. That's the way you get through it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Man, that does make me think though. I should definitely get some Custodes on my desk. I've had a few people, more than a few people ask. I don't know if they'd ask anymore. But I know what I'll do.
Depends on the people. Do you actually have used Custodes, or would you have to go find them?
I'd have to find them. Somebody emailed me not too long ago and said they had some, and I haven't talked to them fully. I think I sent something back to them, but we're working that out.
Okay. Because
I wouldn't mind some Custodes for sure.
Yeah, I did buy some. I've actually never really looked at those models before. Like I've seen them, posted in pictures and stuff on Instagram or whatever, but it's an army that's supposed to be just a lot of gold. And so a lot of times it's hard for individual models to stand out and to really see what's going on with the sculpt. And, apologies if I've seen your Custodes in the past, but like nothing really sticks out to me because there's a lot of similar paint schemes that get used. And some of the people who are doing it are just, spraying it gold, throwing a wash on there. And that's what's in my memory banks.
Yeah.
But I've been assembling the models, and there actually are some nice cloth components to some of the models. And I think there may be more potential in those sculpts than is commonly seen, I think.
I think so. I mean, it's kind of the Stormcast issue that happened, especially when they came out. It's just a lot of gold, and then you got like pops of like some shoulder pads or something.
Yep.
And Custodes don't even have the shoulder pads. Like they're sculpted like eagle heads or whatever they are.
Right.
So yeah, they started incorporating more of the cloth, and that definitely breaks it up. But even then, like traditionally, right, you see a lot of red cloth with gold armor. It's all very kind of warm and in the same zone paint wise. So it is hard. I know what you're talking about. I've seen maybe a handful. Actually, Emil did a video, I don't know, 6 months ago about a Custodes army. I mean, he's a good painter, obviously, and made them look really nice. So yeah, there are definitely options, but I think it's one of the harder things to get to look different.
Sure. Yep. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. But your Dreadnought's looking good. You got that sweet yellow going on it.
Yeah, not too bad. I mean, yellow's always fun, right?
Sure.
You get the nice yellow, and in this case, I'm doing Lamenters, so it's got the nice checkers and the heart, little teardrop or blood drop bleeding heart thing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's probably some conspiracy about that at some point in GW. I don't know.
Maybe. All right, I got a topic for you. It's a dumb one. It's
the best kind of topic.
Yeah, but it might actually be useful. Okay. Very recently, I discovered that you can buy a USB Bluetooth adapter for your computer and pair it with Bluetooth headphones. And this is actually really, really useful at the hobby desk. And Casey's laughing at me because, Brent didn't know about Bluetooth technology. Brent thought it was just for weirdos who needed to take calls at the grocery store. But no.
Really
But no, it's actually really useful because you could be at your hobby desk and you're watching a Twitch stream, you're watching Jamie Daggers and seeing what she's getting up to, and then you're like, I gotta get up and clean out my paint cup, and then you go and do that, and you can still be listening to Jamie and seeing what she's going on, and you're not like tied to your desk with a headphone cord. And everybody's making fun of me right now. I hear you typing in the comments. I hear you. But one person's out there walking their cat, and they're like, you know what? Bluetooth headphones would be really useful. Yeah.
You know what they're wearing to listen to this podcast while walking their cat?
Yeah, and they probably have their Bluetooth headphones paired to their phone, which is nice and useful. But imagine if you paired it to a USB dongle on your PC and you were watching the YouTube video of Paint Bravely the podcast while you were at your hobby desk, but then, where did you put your glue? You left that across the room. You got to get up. You're not tied anywhere. You can get up, walk across the room. While you're up, maybe get some napkins, get some paper towels, go get a snack. You just keep listening to Casey talk about his problems with resin while you're getting a snack. That's fine. So, forgive me for not knowing this already, but yeah, Bluetooth headphones while you're hobbying, actually a pretty solid hobby upgrade.
I mean, it's definitely a hobby upgrade. Like if you're still rocking the wired headphones attached to your PC, like it's time. It's time to move on.
Yeah. We just had the Eclipse of 2024. It's time for you to get some Bluetooth headphones.
Adopt some Bluetooth.
Yeah.
We're in like
That's what the gods
generation.
Are telling us.
Yeah. The moon gods have spoken. Brent needs to get wireless.
I also bought myself a jeweler's saw, which is, my understanding is that this is the world's tiniest hacksaw. It's just got a really fine little blade in there, and it is very useful for cutting small objects like miniatures. So I've been doing some conversions of plastic miniatures lately, and this is great for just making a nice clean cut through the wrist, and then you got a flat edge on each joint of that wrist, and you just rotate the wrist by maybe 60 degrees, get a different angle going on the sword so you can parry some blows. And just changing the topic away from Bluetooth headphones, I got a cool little saw. Yeah. Do you have a cool little saw?
It's funny. I don't have one of those cool little saws, but I don't know where it is currently, somewhere buried in my garage, I got a hobby saw kit. From like Harbor Freight circa 1995, and it's in the garage somewhere. I haven't used it since then. Okay.
Is that the one that's just like a piece of metal, like a
okay. Like really thin blade, but it also had like 4 or 5 little saws in there, and some X-Acto blades, that kind of thing, on like a wooden handle that you could swap out. It's pretty nice.
It sounds
but like good. The importance of having a saw versus clippers, right? Like sprue cutters, sprue clippers, I think we tend to default, especially when converting models. Yeah. And yes, one side of that may be flat, but there's still going to be a pinched piece of plastic in the middle. Whereas like obviously a really nice saw is going to give you actually a flat surface to work with.
Right.
And less plastic cutaway too.
Yeah. Well, actually, maybe a similar amount of plastic cutaway. Okay. It's pretty close. But I have used clippers very often for conversions, and exactly what you're saying, Casey. One side normally gets a nice flat cut, and the other less so. And so if you are
triangular, it's weird.
Yeah. So if your intention is to like rotate that piece and glue it back on, there's probably like another cut you need to make to make sure both edges are flat and glue them back together. So
I always have that problem too. It's like, exactly. I want to chop a wrist, replace a sword to an axe, and it's a different hand, and I have to cut it off something else. And all of a sudden you're removing more plastic than you want. And occasionally I run into the problem where I've clipped too much, and now they have like a really stumpy forearm. It's not good.
Old stumpy.
Yeah. So saw is a much better option.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's pretty common for like somebody's arm to be like half an inch longer or shorter, but
yeah, right. Like
that adds up real fast for a 1 inch tall miniature, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All of a sudden it's more like a 4 or 5 inch difference like in scale. Yeah. I cut off a millimeter, and that's a lot.
Brutus the Barbarian needs to go to a special tailor to get yeah,
exactly. God, man, that makes me think of that was Happy Gilmore. He's telling the lady about his jacket. He's like, I wear like a 42 long, and my arm is like 3 inches shorter than left. He's just like super nonchalant about it.
Man, Happy Gilmore was added to Netflix recently, and I'm only 20 minutes into my rewatch. Like I just got to the part where the grandma had to go to the home with Ben Stiller. That's where I got to. Yeah.
Better go to sleep, or I'll put you to sleep.
Yep. Yeah, I'm just getting to that part, but
it's perfect. So good. Yeah, I've seen that movie. I don't want to say too many times because I don't know that there's a limit, but man, that's a lot of.
It's been 10 or 15 years since I've seen it. I'm pretty sure.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a while.
That's like a twice a year thing for me.
Of course it is.
Yeah. Is that surprising? It's a golf movie. Come on.
It's a golf movie. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't watch like Caddyshack twice a year? No.
No. Still haven't seen Blazing Saddles. We'll
You're
get there.
Me. It's, yeah. I mean,
haven't finished my rewatch of Happy Gilmore. Like, look at me. Like,
start there, and then we'll move on.
Like get you on to Grandma's Boy. Yeah, get you on Hot Rod.
Yeah. But Hot Rod, you've seen loads of times.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. It's no excuses. That's all I'm saying.
So, I've been working on some conversions. I've been working on my old Chaos Warriors. They're not that old. They're like 5 years old.
They're not that old, yeah.
Relatively new sculpts of Chaos Warriors for Warhammer Age of Sigmar. And they are monopose. This was that start collecting box that had 10, at the time, completely fresh new Chaos Warriors. And they look amazing. And they look so good that you want to get another start collecting box. And then you want to order from bit sellers those 10 warriors individually. Yeah. Because you don't need that many copies of a Karkadrak or Knights, but you want the more warriors. And
then you get 3 lined up that are exactly the same.
That's the problem. That is the problem. So I've been doing conversions just to disguise the twins and the triplets a little bit. And I found some pretty good little lessons there. And the biggest one is that when you're doing a conversion just to break up duplicates, essentially, you just need to change their silhouette. You need to change the outline of the model. And some of the other changes, like I was swapping the shields around so they had different designs on the shields. That didn't matter. It didn't matter at all. And it was like changing the wrist angle or the elbow angle or messing around with the shoulder, all very good. Obviously changing the head was useful, changing the direction that the head was looking was useful. That's the kind of like little quick tips I was finding for myself. And the waist on those models is not going to be adjustable. I'm not going to be bending any knees on those models or like messing around with the ankles or anything. But it's actually pretty straightforward and efficient to cut the wrist off, rotate it, glue it back on. And the difference between a sword angled out and a sword angled in is massive for your brain just seeing it for a second and saying whether or not that's a twin. It makes a huge difference, actually.
Well, and especially from, a couple feet away, right? Like on the table, they don't look like twins anymore, and you're certainly not going to take a much closer look. You're just going to assume 30 different models, all individual.
Right. Right. So that's one of the projects I've been working on, is mixing up some duplicates that I had there. And it's kind of funny that since that happened, since Games Workshop released that Start Collecting box that had the 10 monopose Chaos Warriors that all look very awesome and all look exactly the same as all the other sets of 10.
Yeah.
Since then, they actually have released a modular set, or it's a little more modular. It's like another set of 10 warriors, but it's much easier to change the weapon that they're holding, basically.
Yeah.
And that's nice. Like, those ones have a lot of options at the wrists, and so all the effort to customize the monopose for that set is less necessary, but there are lots of copies of some plastic miniatures out there, so that it's nice to have just a little bit of skill at doing these conversions, and that was something that I needed to work on for myself, and now I can pass that on a little bit. So
I mean, I think it's a huge thing to be able to convert your models in general. I think it's something that everybody should probably work on, especially because you look at those start collecting boxes or the starter boxes for something, and they're going to be mass produced because they're cheaper for them to make. There's going to be way more of those models floating around on eBay. Like, you're going to be able to get those models way more readily than anything else. The same thing happened when AOS launched. Like, all of those models ended up in something, and then they made modular kits, and they look way nicer. But like, I've purchased so many of the original models and just changed them out. It feels a lot more, I don't know, personal, I guess, as far as like your army It's a whole different experience, and I think it's worth going down, and you technically save money doing it.
Yeah. Now, if you've been a Paint Bravely the podcast listener and you've been listening to us tell you to buy Dominion boxes for half off for the last 3 years, you may end up with a lot of Orcs and Stormcast that are all posed the same.
Will.
Yeah. So you know what we're talking
60,
about.
Like Hobgrot Slittas, or 100. I might have 100 at this point. Actually, it might be 100. 60 assembled Hobgrot Slittas. And it gets old real quick. But
if you do some simple and efficient conversions, you got some new Hobgrots looking at you with their... Yeah. You could even make them so they're not safely handling those grenades anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I have an unbelievable amount of that orc stuff from that kit. Like just a stupid amount. I mean, probably in my cabinet I've got 3,000 points built. And then in my other cabinets in boxes unopened, at least another 3,000 or 4,000 points. So, yeah, I went deep on the old Dominion box set.
And the thing is, I mean, with those basic troops, they gave you 2 copies of some of those basic troops in just one Dominion box. You got a couple of copies of some of those troops, and so all of a sudden Dominion box is half off, which means you gotta buy at least 2, and then they're giving them away for free at Adepticon, and people can't fly home with them, so they're giving them away in the parking lot, and all of a sudden you got a lot of duplicate models. You got to figure out what to do with them. But what I'm saying is you change the silhouette. Head swaps, head looking in different direction, and then look at the joints of the arms, especially like the right arm, the main weapon arm. If you can change the angle at the shoulder or the wrist, that's going to do a huge, huge favor for you. Sometimes you can get the elbow's trickier. The elbow, the elbow's a little harder to cut in and make it not look stupid, but a lot of times with the shoulder on so many models, there's like a flat cut at the shoulder between the torso and the shoulder. That's very easy just to rotate up or down by 45 degrees or more. Big difference in the look of things.
Yeah, no, for sure. Weirdly enough, I've been looking into, I've watched a few videos on how to convert STLs, like in Blender, which is a free program you can download. But yeah, it's like way easier than I thought, but it's using the same idea, right? If you take a little thing, you go, okay, I want to cut right here at the shoulder, right here at the elbow, at the wrist, whatever, and then it like automatically poses that for you, and you can just kind of like move it around and put it in the pose that you want, and then it prints out, at however you have it set. I think that's really cool because a lot of times, even in doing digital files, they're still doing the same thing where it's like, well, here's like 4 of the same bodies with different heads and weapons, and that's about it. It's like, really? That's it? Like you had, I mean, I get it. Like, you gotta, sculpt monthly models or whatever. You're gonna cut some corners, but yeah. So being able to convert and change the silhouette is a huge deal.
Yep. Agreed. All right, what else we got going on, Casey?
I ordered and got my copy of a pretty nifty little card game in the mail called Love Letter. Yeah.
Called Star Wars Jabba Palace Love Letter.
Called Love Letter. That's I love this. Yeah, so we got a video podcast going on at youtube.com/Paint Bravely the podcast. If you are not watching at home, you can hear the dice. But no Brent dice. Is holding up his copy of Love Letter, and it is a Star Wars Jabba the Hutt. You don't have dice in yours?
None of us have dice. We have tokens, victory tokens.
Well, what are in my bag then?
You should open your bag.
I haven't. Oh, they're tokens. You're right. Yeah. Whatever, man. They are
it's
tokens.
Probably a lot of you have heard of Love Letter before, but it's a very simple game. It's like half a deck of cards. It's good for playing in groups. It's easy to teach to people. It's like quick little rounds. And the objective is to play your cards such that at the end of the round, you have the highest value character in your hand. And basically at all times, you have one card in your hand, but when it's your turn, you draw a card from the deck, and then you play one of your two cards and try to mess up your opponents, and you go around until the deck's gone, and then hopefully you have the princess at the end. Or, if you have the Jabba's Palace version, hopefully you have Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah.
I think Luke Skywalker is actually the same or higher, but yeah.
I mean, it wasn't just because of the game, it wasn't Princess Leia. That just would make sense.
Oh no, Jabba's the highest.
Okay.
Jabba, Luke, Palace. Rancor, Boba Fett, Leia,
Boba Fett.
Bib Fortuna is for Lando. Yeah. Anyway, in the original version, it's the Princess, King, Countess, Queen, Countess, whatever.
Yeah. Baron. Yeah.
But it's a fun little game. We played a few rounds with the Eons of Battle lads at Adepticon when we were there, and I'd had this copy for a while, but you knew it was time. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's one of those things like, somebody teaches you a game and then you have a good time. I also happen to win that game, so that helps. Yeah. So yeah, I bought it. It was like $11 or something. It's a very inexpensive game.
Yeah. It's also very small. Like you can just have it in your backpack at all times. Like it's half a deck of cards. Like it's
nice, neat little pouch, Yeah,
casual game, easy to teach to people. I hate learning rules, but like you sit down and within a round of playing the game, you know exactly what's going on. And
it didn't take much. So I do like that as well.
Yeah.
It's very simple.
Yep. Some good strategy in there, but it's like a social game and everything. And anyway, Love Letter. That's our recommendation. And I still haven't played my Jabba's Palace edition, but looks pretty cool. There's a couple of little tweaks in there.
Yeah.
Couple little tweaks in there. Funny. All right, that's all we have.
I almost got the Star Wars one, but I was like, I don't know that I have enough friends who come and play games with me that I could actually convince every single one of them that like this is the game we should play. Like regular Love Letter, I feel like I can convince everyone to play. But if it was the Star Wars one, a couple people would be like, really?
Nerd.
Yeah. I mean, obviously I have other friends that would be way more than into that, but gotta do what you gotta do. Something that might not be worth it, unlike Love Letter, the Stormbringer, I think that's what it's called, the subscription service for the Warhammer models that I've still been continuing, maybe somewhat unwisely. Still $77 a month, and it's a pretty hard hit. But I mean, so far the models have been pretty good, right? Although I've come to learn recently that a lot of the models that are included in Stormbringer are a lot of the models that Games Workshop did technically discontinue from the Stormcast line.
Whoops.
So I don't know how much. I don't know. I don't know how worth it is. I mean, I'm still going to continue. I will be the boots on the ground, so to speak. We'll see what's going to happen with this thing, but that's not great if that's the case.
That's pretty funny, though. That's pretty funny to get you locked into monthly payments that you have to call to cancel your subscription to Stormbringer or whatever.
Doing. Yeah,
they're like, oh, by the way, none of this stuff is in the game anymore.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
No,
I did get some Gloomspite minis, and that was all right.
That's good. Well,
yeah.
I'm glad that you're a subscriber, Casey. It gives us something to talk about, and we don't know where this drama is going to end, but one storyline is just a descent into madness of like all of those models get discontinued and you just get grumpier and grumpier, which would be a nice change, actually. That'd be great. Yeah,
that'd be great. My assumption is the culmination of this program, we're going to call it, is a free Dominion box. That's what I'm guessing. Because that's what it's leading up to. They're like, look at all these sweet minis. And here's all the new ones, you know what I mean?
You crack that big shipping box open on your front porch, and you know what? I'm not even mad. I'm not even mad.
No. Well played.
Well played.
Just because we're talking about that though, the some of the new Stormcast models look pretty sweet. They're really like going for it with these guys, and I've been happy so far. So yeah, I guess we'll see what happens. I don't know. What else you been doing? I know you got more stuff. I know.
I gave my shipping address to a toy company, and Joy Toy has sent me some like 6-inch tall Space Marine mans. So I got that going for me.
Yeah.
I think these have been out for a couple of years. Joy Toy has had this license for a little while, and they're basically nice action figures, I guess is the description.
Much, yeah. That's a good way to put it, yeah.
They've got, they're some of them are pre-painted, some of them are not painted, and that's something I'm actually working on, but there's just a lot of ball joints on these, and so they actually have decent flexibility. Makes a lot of noise, so I'm not going to do it too much near the mic. I'll do it a little bit.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And it actually feels a lot like Buzz Lightyear looks in Toy Story movies. Yeah. Like if you just like holding one of these guys like limp in your hand, it feels very much like I imagine Buzz Lightyear would have felt.
Yeah.
It's just, can kind of go limp, and like a lot of the joints kind of like, sag back into your hand and everything. And, but yeah, they're pretty good models.
I mean, for action figures,
they're
like pre-painted,
as far as toys go, they're great models as far as toys go. Yeah. And the pre-paint is like, okay. But they did send me a few unpainted ones, and I've been starting to paint them. So
okay. Got some primed,
Got a Terminator here, and what I did is I took out my worst cans of spray paint. My cans of spray paint that like only have a quarter of a tank left, and I couldn't bring myself to throw away the bottle. And I was like, I don't even know what I'll ever use this for. But I took out these giant things, and what's the worst if like the texture is a little bit off? I'll get over it. Yeah.
The large scale, it makes even more sense. So you're fine.
Yeah. So I took my 2 worst cans of spray paint. One of them's completely gone. One of them is seriously like a 20-year-old can of spray paint. I needed to like clean the nozzle several times to make it squirt. But one of the reasons I wanted to squirt everything black is because there are a lot of ball joints, and so depending on how you move things, there are some really deep crevices in these Joy Toy figures that I wanted to get black up in there, so there wasn't just like light gray staring at us if I rotated the joint. But so I made sure to give them a couple good blasts of black. And I figured out that there are a couple of types of plastic on this, and one of them takes the spray paint quite nicely, and one of them's a little bit sticky these days. But what are you gonna do? I'll put a coat of airbrush black primer on top of the sticky bits.
That'll probably.
Yeah, I'm feeling good about that. I mean, I'm not worried one way or the other, but like I feel pretty good about that strategy. So,
man, I'm gonna say you should print out a base or get a larger base and just glue him into position.
Yeah, I can see that. The joints are actually good enough, the way that the ball joints are arranged, that I kind of wanted to keep them flexible just to see what that's like. Like, I totally understand why somebody might want to be like, just choose the pose of the Joy Toy figure, glue everything in place, paint it like that. But yeah, for the fun of it, I'm going to do it all flexible, and we'll learn something. It'll be a new experience.
For sure, yeah. Well, that's pretty neat. Man, you got yourself a proxy knight.
I mean, it's about that scale. I think that's about that size. Yeah, that's about right. I don't know.
Good 6 inches tall.
Yeah, about there.
Yeah,
so
it works.
That's
you
cool.
Paint all over yourself.
Yeah, I definitely do.
Something's still wet.
Something's still wet because, like, it was not putting on smooth, even coats. I'll tell you that. It was putting on a drizzle, and then it was shooting out for it.
Oh man.
So
that's not bad. I've got a couple of those.
I want to thank the sponsor of this episode, Joy Toy, for sending me some literal toys that I spray painted. So, nah, Joy Toy did not sponsor this episode. They did send me some free toys. So
close enough.
Close enough. That's right. Yeah,
you've mentioned it enough that they might as well. Also sponsored by the Eclipse.
Sponsored by the Eclipse. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man.
By the way, I think I'm going to paint these in rainbow colors for the Fabulous Marines 2024. So
there you go. Yeah.
Hope Joy Toy wants to get some angry emails from nerds. So yeah.
They probably already do.
Yeah, they probably. You're right.
This Terminator is not proper. Like some weapon choice or something dumb. You know?
Maybe we can layer on like a nice level of bigotry on top of the normal nerd rage and just really give them something special. I want to thank sponsor Joy Toy for.
There you go.
So anyway, that's what I'm working on. Well, what else?
Speaking of things that came in the mail.
Ooh.
Yeah, I got my plushie kobold. In the mail from Kobolds Ate My Baby.
I gotta tell you, that looks like a cat. It looks like an orange cat that you're holding.
Yeah, their version of kobolds are pretty unique. I mean, it's like most of it's 2D, hand drawn stuff. It's stylized, so they look cuter than they should. They've got like the little nostrils and the sharp teeth and the beady eyes,
snout is completely flat.
Yes, and I mean, I don't know. It is what it is. It's a kobold as far as they're concerned. As far as I'm concerned, it works for me. Even if it's not my brand of kobold,
He's cute.
Yeah. Looks cool. My daughter immediately stole it from me, and I only just got it back.
Mm-hmm.
She might not know that I took it, but I did.
Yes, you did. I'm glad you could share that with us. It's a cutie, even if it does kind of look like a cat.
It does. It's very fuzzy.
Mm-hmm.
But I like it. They also sent along some orange crayons for the coloring book, and then some really nice fancy custom dice for the game. So I'm pretty happy about that. Yeah.
That's right. Those were actually your items and did not belong to your daughter. I got it. Yeah.
Yeah. The dice for sure. The rest of it is questionable. Yeah, so Adepticon news.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, moved from Schaumburg, Illinois to Milwaukee, which is pretty cool, I think.
The location was clearly at capacity. Like it was.
Oh yeah.
It was basically impossible to get a hotel room that you wanted. Parking was becoming very difficult. It was physically cramped in the convention hall.
Yeah.
They had run out of space to put vendors. Like there were vendors in the hallways. Like there were obviously in the vendor hall, but like also in the hallways to get to the vendor hall. And like it was awesome to see a pretty large place filled up with our kind of people and filled up with games we like and vendors we like, and got some fond memories of that old place. But it was time to go somewhere bigger.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see, because it's supposed to be like 3 times the size. Like how that's gonna feel, I guess, because like being in a somewhat smaller venue, having that more intimate feeling, like everybody, you're just bumping into people constantly, right? Like in a larger space, even if everything's spread out, like I wonder what that's gonna do.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it.
Yeah.
I have not been to this convention center. Been to Milwaukee a couple of times. There was a baseball game I went to. I've used the airport once because it was cheaper than Madison Airport. And one time I went to Milwaukee to be an extra in the movie Space Cop by Red Letter Media, starring Rich Evans as Space Cop. So that was pretty good. But I don't know a lot about the city, so we'll all be discovering it together.
Yeah. The only things I know about Milwaukee are from the movie Strange Brew and Wayne's World. That's all I got. Really?
I haven't seen either of those movies.
Oh my God.
No, actually, I've seen Wayne's World, but it's been a really long time. I thought that was set in Canada. I apologize. Yeah.
No, I think it's in Aurora, but they go to Milwaukee to an Alice Cooper concert. And then Alice Cooper explains to them what Milwaukee means. Like Milwaukee, Native American for all these different... No, okay.
Nothing.
Dude.
I've seen some clips from Strange Brew. Looks pretty good.
I'm pretty sure they're in Milwaukee at some point. And
I would definitely believe that. I would believe it. Yeah.
I mean, it's about beer.
Yeah.
I swear it is. I don't know. I just bought that movie on DVD.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I haven't watched it yet since I got it, though.
Look at you with your sweet old movies. Yeah.
It's okay. Look, like Wayne's World. Okay, yes, these movies are old. Some of them. But come on.
No, that was a good enough. I'm aware that I should have seen this movie. At
least there's that.
Am I the Scott of this podcast?
Yes. That's what I just said. You're almost as bad.
Not as bad. I've seen Grandma's Boy.
I mean, if I know Scott, he's probably seen that movie.
That's like the one. That's the one movie we can count on Scott to have seen.
Yeah. I have to ask him next time.
Grandma's Boy, starring the minor characters from Adam Sandler movies. Yeah.
It's actually not a terrible movie, which is
no,
weirder.
It's not.
Yeah, it's actually
Drive
good.
Monkey Drive. Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm trying to think of something else that's going to be a good. We're moving away from that, but I
don't know what else to say about Milwaukee. Like, got any other memories of Milwaukee? Like,
I've never been, so I have no idea. I mean, it should make for a good convention. It's not that far away from the other place. There's an airport there. I'm pretty excited to see what's going to happen and how much it's going to grow, just because it was so at capacity. It's like there was a lot of history, it seems, at the Schaumburg. You've got the Fort Wapple, you've got these places where things were happening and they were kind of designated, the Grimdark hallway, that kind of thing. And it's going to be interesting to see like how these things evolve and if they're going to keep the same names or not,
Yeah, there are a few locations that definitely feel like they had some history, like like physical locations within that hotel and convention center. Like Fort Wapple with a painting was in a very specific location under the escalators in the lobby area.
Mm-hmm.
And we will see where they stick the painting section in the new place.
Yeah. Because I feel like it's going to be such an open thing. They're like, you can go in that corner and it's just going to be a weird corner.
Yeah.
Like, no.
Or a giant room with a closed door that's at the end of the hallway that nobody's going to go to. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe, it's possible. Maybe we need to get our hands on like the layout of this convention and start to pre-name these things and just get ahead of it. Like, for real. Like, we'll get some schematics. Hey, just start labeling it.
Yeah, this is the Kobold Wing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I feel like we could get there.
We've got the Moon Clan Vendor Hall.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Well, I know what I'm doing this weekend.
That sounds good. Yeah, so I think that some historical gaming conventions have been in Milwaukee. Like, I'm pretty sure Gen Con was there for like 15 years or something earlier in the history. Like, I think Milwaukee actually has a lot of gaming history, but unfortunately was before my time. So,
right, yeah. It feels like a lot of gaming in general, wargaming and tabletop gaming, RPGs and stuff, just are in this kind of area.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, Wisconsin historically very big for. Yep.
I mean, I guess it's just cold there. You got to find.
Well, it's cold there, but also like D&D was born there, and yeah, all related. Oh man, I don't have much else. Like
I mean, yeah. New Kings of War Ambush.
Okay,
it's pretty sweet. Starter kits are like $45 for a decent sized amount of models, like a good number.
It looks like two or three decent sized units actually for $45.
Yeah, it looks like 20 models per unit. So you get like 40 standard troops, some special troops, and some generals or whatever. But it's taking Kings of War and like making it smaller. Not the models are smaller, I don't think, but the actual play size, like the table size, is much smaller, and the rule set is changed for that. But they're free. And they just look cool. I don't know. I thought it was interesting. I think it's a unique way to go because it's a pretty low price point just to get into a game like that and to have everything you need. So that could be really interesting. It might do some stuff in the hobby. So I'm going to keep an eye on that.
Do it. Pull the trigger. Yeah, you're already spending $78 a month on Stormbringer. Like,
exactly. I got to have 2 armies for that price.
Do it. Get you a couple of ambush starter sets from Mantic Games. Exactly.
As long as they're better than the rats, I'll be fine.
Easy.
Anyways, thank you again for joining us on another episode of Paint Bravely. If you enjoyed this podcast, please help us out by leaving us a review on iTunes, subscribing to the YouTube channel, and sharing this message with your hobby friends. And as always, we appreciate each and every one of you for listening, and we will talk to you next time.
Talk to you next time.